Ashes of Love, Chapter 1. The Boy Who Came Back with Rain. The rain always came when Elian Vance did. Havenridge had been stuck under a dull, hot sky for weeks. And then on the day Mara Harley finally stopped checking the street, he walked back into town. And the heavens opened. Mara stood in her cafe, Eclipse grounds, watching the glass go blurry with rain. It was closing time. The lights were low, and the old record player hummed something slow and crackly. She wiped a circle on the glass with her sleeve, to check if she was imagining him. She wasn't. Elian. 5 years older. Broader. A little more broken-looking. He crossed the street without an umbrella, like he didn't deserve to be dry. When he pushed open the door, the bell chimed like a memory she'd tried to bury. He looked older now, sharper around the edges, the kind of sharp that comes from guilt. "Coffee?" she asked, voice steady, though her heart begged to tremble. "Depends," he said quietly, his eyes never leaving hers. "Do you still serve it black with a side of silence?" Her lips twitched, fighting the ghost of a smile. "Only for old ghosts," she said with a devastating half-smile. "You remembered." "Oh, I remember everything," she said, and it came out sharper than she meant. He didn't flinch. Instead, he reached into his jacket and set a worn manila envelope on the counter between them. Elian sat in the same booth they used to claim every Saturday. Mara brought his coffee over. Black, no sugar, and the smell alone was enough to pull her back into every memory she'd sworn she burned. "Why are you here, Elian?" He looked up, because the truth finally surfaced. Her stomach tightened. "Don't start this again. I'm not here to fight, Mara." His voice cracked. "I'm here because I know who really set that fire." Chapter 2. Smoke that stayed. 5 years earlier, they'd been Havenridge's sun and moon. Mara Harley, Mayor's daughter, always painting, always hopeful. Elian Vance, mechanic's son, quiet, loyal, the boy who fixed things. People said they were too different. She lived in colour, he in quiet. But together they were dangerous in the sweetest way. Touching all the time, talking about futures, making plans to restore old buildings, to make Havenridge better. Then the pier burned. Mayor Thomas Harley died in the blaze. Elian's father was arrested for arson and murder. The town split in two overnight. Mara was drowning in grief. Elian was drowning in fury. He said his father was framed. She said her father was dead. Neither of them knew how to love and hate at once. He left town the next day, swearing he'd prove it. She stayed, nursing loss and anger like they were the same thing. Chapter 3. The Envelope. Back in the present, Mara stared at the envelope like it might relight the fire. "Why now?" she asked. "Because I found the links I couldn't find before," Elian said. "Your father's deputy, Elijah Carrick, was skimming money from the waterfront fund. Your dad found out. Called him to the pier. Carrick panicked. Set the fire to destroy the evidence. My dad was the perfect person to pin it on." Mara's eyes widened. "No." He slid the folder closer. "Emails. Insurance claims. Logs. You can check them with your father's old town credentials." Mara's world tilted. "My father wasn't the target." "Elijah Carrick didn't mean to kill him," Elian said. "But he did. And he let your family hate mine for it." She swallowed hard. "You came back to tell me this." "I came back because I still love you," he said, honesty hitting the air like thunder. "And because I need you to help me finish it." Chapter 4. He hangs around like memory. For the next few days, Elian simply existed in her orbit. He came to Eclipse grounds every morning, sat at the back table, sorted through papers. Didn't push. Havenridge noticed. Of course it did. Mara pretended to be indifferent, but every time the bell chimed, A little shameful flame in her chest hoped it was him. He'd look up, meet her eyes, give that tiny nod that said we're not okay, but we're not strangers either. There were moments that were almost like before. Her refilling his mug, him fixing the loose leg on a chair without being asked, the two of them reaching for the same pen and pulling back too fast. Grief was still sitting at their table, but so was something warmer. Chapter 5. Flashback to a softer pier. That night, the rain drummed on her window and Mara remembered. The old pier in summer. Alian's truck. Her bare feet on sun-warmed wood. His arms around her waist. "You ever think about leaving?" he'd asked. "No," she'd said. "This is home, even if it's small. What's the point of a big place if there's no one to come back to?" He'd kissed her then. Slow and sure. Like he was planting a flag. That was supposed to be their life. Coffee shop, visits to her dad. Him fixing cars. Them arguing over paint colors. Instead, they got fire. Chapter 6. The plan to break the lie. By day 4, she made her choice. She closed the cafe early, sat across from him and said, "Fine. We do this. We expose him." Relief flashed across his face. "We need 2 things. Your access to the town server. And his confession." "Carrick won't confess." "He will," Alian said. "If he thinks you still trust him." She hated that it made sense. They set it for Saturday. She'd invite Carrick to the cafe on some town business excuse. Alian would record from the back. They'd corner him with what they knew, and let his arrogance do the rest. Simple on paper. But the night before, that was the night you wanted more of. Chapter 7. Old wounds, new sparks. It was late. The cafe was closed. Rain ticked on the awning. Only the little lamp in the corner was on, throwing warm gold over papers, coffee mugs, and the two of them. Mara stood on a chair, trying to reach a loose strand of fairy lights. "Can you pass me the tape?" Alian, sitting beneath her with his sling of documents, looked up and nearly forgot how to breathe. She was in jeans and an oversized cream sweater, hair up in a messy knot, a smudge of espresso on her wrist, and she was 5 years of his life he'd never been able to replace. He got up, came close and handed her the tape. His fingers brushed her ankle. Static. "Sorry," he murmured. "It's okay," she said, a little too quickly. She fixed the lights and stepped down. He caught her waist on instinct. Their bodies brush, shoulders, hips, the places that would remember later. She froze. So did he. His hands were warm on her waist. Her breath hitched. For a long moment they just stayed. Then she pulled back, clearing her throat. "We should go over the order of questions again." "Right," he said, but his eyes were still on her mouth. They sat at the table, shoulder to shoulder. She pulled the laptop toward her, and a memory slipped out before she could stop it. "You used to sit like this with me and help me with art history," she said softly. "You made me memorize painters with you," he said. "Klimt, O'Keeffe, Holly." She laughed. "You remembered my name." "I remembered everything," he said. Her smile faded. "Why?" "Because you were the best thing I'd ever had," he said simply. "And the worst loss, that cracked something open." She stared at the screen but couldn't focus. "I was so angry at you. I know. I wanted you to fight harder. I know. I wanted you to believe me and hate me and stay." He looked at her then. Really looked. "I couldn't stay and watch you hate me for something my father didn't do. I would have done something I couldn't take back." "Like what?" she whispered. "Like tell you your father wasn't perfect. And you weren't ready to hear that." Silence hummed between them. Not empty, but full of what they never said. Mara looked at his hand. There was a scar across his knuckles. A new one. "What's that from?" she asked, reaching out before she thought better of it. He glanced down. Oh, I got into it with a guy in Houston. He was talking trash about my dad. I hit a wall instead. She took his hand gently, turned it palm up. The skin was rough, mechanic's hand still. The scar was white and thin. You always hurt yourself for people, she murmured. Even when they don't know. I don't do it for people. His voice dropped. I do it for my people. Her chest tightened. She smoothed her thumb over the scar. His breath shortened. Her thumb stilled, but she didn't let go. Mara, he said, her name a warning and a prayer. Their eye. Why didn't you move on? She asked before she could stop herself. His gaze didn't falter. I tried, with someone else. With a lot of things, work, cities, women. He shook his head, a rueful smile touching his mouth. No one was you. The confession landed somewhere soft and hurting in her. You? He asked. You never? She laughed once, humorless. I tried to fall in love with a man who liked spreadsheets and golf. He grinned despite himself. Sounds hot. He was fine, nice, safe. Her eyes dimmed. But every time he took my hand, I thought about yours. Every time I talked about my father, I thought about how you were the only one who saw me that night. Really saw me. And I hated that the person I needed most was the one I'd lost. Their eyes met, and the air thickened. He lifted his other hand. Slow, like approaching a wild thing. He cupped her cheek. His thumb rubbed the spot just under her eye. You still get this little twitch when you're trying not to cry, he murmured. She leaned into his touch before she could stop herself. Her eyes fluttered closed. This is a bad idea, she whispered. Yeah, he whispered back. But I've been waiting 5 years to make a bad decision with you. She opened her eyes. Elian. He didn't lunge. He didn't devour. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to stop it. His breath brushed her mouth. Her hand slid up his chest, fingers curling in his shirt. Then she met him halfway. The kiss was soft at first, tasting, remembering. Then it deepened, 5 years of missing pouring in. He tilted his head, lips molding to hers, one hand in her hair, the other still cradling her cheek like she was fragile and holy. She kissed him back like she'd been starving. She shifted closer, knees touching his. His thumb stroked her jaw. Her fingers slipped to the back of his neck. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, foreheads touching, she laughed a little, breathless. We said we'd keep it professional, she said. We said that. I did. I didn't listen. She rested her hands on his shoulders. Tomorrow could go wrong. I know. I could lose you again. His eyes softened. You never lost me, Mara, even when I was gone. She swallowed around the lump in her throat. Stay tonight, she blurted, then shook her head quickly. Not like that. I mean, you can sleep in the office. It's storming, and I don't want you to go. His expression melted. Yeah, he said. Okay. She made him tea. He watched her move around the cafe, feeling something dangerously like home. In the office, she tossed him a blanket. There, she said. It's lumpy, but he grabbed her wrist gently. Mara, she looked at him. He tugged her closer, just enough to kiss her once more. Slower, lingering, a promise and an apology and a just in case. Good night, he whispered against her lips. Good night, she whispered back, eyes bright. She closed the door, leaned her back against it, and pressed her fingers to her mouth, shaking. Outside, the rain fell. Not knowing tomorrow would break them all over again. 8. The confession that turned violent. Saturday night came heavy with rain. Carrick arrived at 8:03, all cologne and smugness. Mara played her part flawlessly. Warm, polite, The mayor's daughter checking on festival funds. Elian waited in the back room. Phone recording. They talked. She pressed. He slipped. When she mentioned the server logs that showed him online the same night as her father, his eyes flicked. When she mentioned the missing funds, his jaw clenched. When she mentioned the insurance payout, he snapped. It didn't have to go that way. He spat. Your father should have left it alone. So you set the fire, Mara said, voice shaking. I started it, he said, like a man who'd been waiting to be admired for it. He wasn't supposed to be there. From the back, Elian stepped out. And you framed my father. Carrick's eyes widened. You? Elian lifted the phone. All recorded. That was when Carrick panicked. His hand darted to his coat. Mara saw the gun. Elian. He moved on instinct. Toward her, not away. The shot cracked through the cafe. Elian staggered. The bullet hit high, shoulder, maybe collarbone. But he spun, fell hard, struck his head on the edge of the counter on the way down. Elian! Mara screamed, running to him. Carrick bolted for the door, but didn't make it far. Sirens were already close, called in by a neighbor who'd heard shouting. Mara dropped to her knees. Blood bloomed under Elian's head, dark and terrifying. His eyes were open but unfocused. Hey, stay with me. She cradled his face. Elian, look at me. His lips moved. You, okay? She sobbed. Don't worry about me. He blinked slowly, like the world was slipping away. Told you. I'd protect you. Stop talking, she said, pressing her hand to the wound, fingers slick with red. You're okay. You're okay. His eyes slid closed. Elian. She screamed, voice breaking. Elian. Paramedics burst in. Police cuffed Carrick. Everything spun. They loaded him onto the stretcher. Someone was talking about concussion, blood loss, possible brain trauma. Mara climbed into the ambulance without asking. She held his hand the whole ride, knuckles white, whispering, Don't leave. Please don't leave. Not again. Chapter 9. The coma. The bullet wound itself wasn't the worst part. It was the fall. The doctor explained it to her later, in a room that smelled like antiseptic and rain-soaked clothes. He suffered a significant blow to the head when he fell, the doctor said. There's swelling. We've stabilized him, but he's unresponsive. Unresponsive? Mara repeated, like the word was foreign. He's in a coma. The world went silent. How long? She whispered. We don't know, the doctor said gently. Some patients wake in days. Some in weeks, months. Some, he didn't finish. Mara stared through him. She could still see Elian's eyes going unfocused. He was talking, she said. He was just talking. He has strong vitals, the doctor said. He's young. That's in his favor. Can he hear me? She asked. Maybe, the doctor said. Talk to him anyway. So she did. Chapter 10. The town that finally learned the truth. Carrick's arrest and confession blew through Havenridge like lightning. The recording was turned over. The financials matched. The day took the case. Her father's name was cleared publicly. So was Elian's father. People came to the cafe just to say, We're sorry, Mara, and we were wrong about the Vances. Town council held a press conference. Carrick was charged. Justice, in a way. But the one person who fought for it wasn't awake to see it. Elian lay in a hospital room, machines beeping steadily, bandage around his shoulder, dark hair against white sheets. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Mara visited every day. She brought coffee, not for him, but for herself. She sat beside him and told him everything. They cleared your dad, she said one morning, fingers wrapped around his. They said he was wrongfully convicted. They even said his name at the town hall. Your dad would have wanted that. He didn't move. They also cleared mine, she whispered. They said he died doing his job. He wasn't careless. He was trying to protect the town. You were right, Elian. You were right all along. His chest rose and fell. She leaned closer. You can wake up now. He didn't. Chapter 11. Together, but apart. Weeks passed. She reopened Eclipse Grounds because she had to pay bills, because she needed normal, because she knew Elian would tell her not to stop living. That every day after closing, she went to him. She brought him little things, a photo of the old pier, a shell from the beach they used to go to, the letter from his father she finally read, the one where his dad had written, Mara, thank you for loving my son. He is good. Don't let the world tell you otherwise. She read that one to him twice. Your dad was right, she said, voice shaking. You were good. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she laughed. Sometimes she scolded him. You idiot, she whispered once, wiping his brow with a cloth. You were supposed to duck. Nurses started greeting her by name. They knew to bring an extra chair. Once a nurse said, He might hear you, you know. I hope he does, Mara said. Because I need him to know I was wrong. She took his hand again. I blamed you. I blamed your father. I didn't want to look at the real villain because it meant losing the image of mine. I hurt you so much, Elian, and you still came back for me. His hand stayed warm but limp. If you wake up, she whispered, leaning close, we can figure it out. We can leave this town. Or stay, or fight everyone. I don't care. Just wake up. No response. So she went on waiting. Chapter 12. Rain visits. One afternoon, months later, it rained again. The nurse said, You picked a good day to come. He's been stable. Mara smiled faintly. He likes the rain. She sat beside him like always. She set down a thermos of coffee. You know, she said, I never told you this. The night before we confronted Carrick. You were so stupidly sweet. She smiled at the memory. You kissed me like we were still 18. Her eyes welled. I thought we were getting a second chance. She brushed his hair back from his forehead. We did, didn't we? She whispered. Just not the way I wanted. Thunder rumbled softly outside. She laced their fingers together and began to talk. About the cafe. About townspeople apologizing. About Mrs. Calhoun asking after him. About a teenager who came in and said, My mum said you and the Vance boy were in love before all this. That true? I told him, yeah. Still true, she said, smiling through tears. Because it is. She placed her head on the edge of the mattress, close to his arm. I'm gonna keep coming, okay? She murmured. I don't care if it's months or years. You fought 5 years for me. I can fight for you like this. His monitor beeped steadily. She closed her eyes and just listened to him breathe. Chapter 13. Epilogue. The woman who waited. Time didn't heal it. It just made it quieter. Havenridge moved on. Carrick was convicted. The town praised Mara for her bravery. A plaque with Mayor Thomas Hale's name was placed by the rebuilt waterfront. The Vance name was finally cleared. Eclipse Grounds thrived. People liked to say, this is where the truth started. Mara kept the quote on the wall. Some things burn and some things become light. And in the back office, in a weathered box, she kept every postcard Elian had ever sent before. From Houston, from Dallas, from that coastal town he liked. She kept his hoodie. She kept his mug on the shelf. Every day off, she went to the care facility. The nurses smiled. Hi, Mara, she would say. How is he today? They'd say stable. She'd sit beside him, take his hand, and start talking. Hey, it's raining today, she'd say. Remember what you said? Yeah. In the rain, you can keep that promise any time now. Sometimes she'd bring her laptop and play music they used to slow dance to. Sometimes she'd read him the menu from the cafe. Sometimes she'd close her eyes and imagine him answering. Once, near sunset, she whispered, "You know what the worst part is? We chose each other again. We decided to be brave. We fixed everything that was between us. And still, life said no." Her voice cracked. "But I'm still yours," she said, pressing a kiss to his hand. Even like this. Outside, rain slid down the window. Inside, machines hummed. Mara leaned over, lips near his ear, and whispered the promise she'd sworn to keep. "You and I will always meet in the rain. So whenever you're ready, come back to me." He didn't wake, but his heart kept beating. So she kept coming. Because sometimes love doesn't get the neat ending, or the wedding, or the sunset drive away. Sometimes love is a woman in a cafe cardigan, sitting beside a man who can't open his eyes, telling him stories so he doesn't miss the life he fought to set right. And that's its own kind of forever. The end.